Hi guys, Cinematic Recapped here. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm gonna explain an Australian drama, mystery, and thriller movie, called The Dry. The movie starts by showing a house where a murder took place. The walls are covered in blood and the door is left open. Surprisingly, the sound of an infant's cry can be heard from one of the rooms, indicating that a baby has survived the murder. However, there are also the bodies of a boy and a young woman lying on the floor. After that, the scene switches to a federal agent named Aaron, who has just woken up in his apartment. He then reads a newspaper to find news of a suicide murder in his hometown of Kiwara, Victoria. It is revealed that his childhood friend, Luke, has allegedly killed his wife, Karen, and their son, Billy, before taking his own life. At the same time, Aaron listens to a voice message from Luke's father, Jerry, urging him to come to his son's funeral. He opens a plain card with no sender stated, only the words accusing him and Luke of lying before, as well as an order for him to attend the funeral. Therefore, Aaron drives to his small hometown of Australia, which has been experiencing a drought for months. The funeral is held at a local church, and Aaron joins the mourners at the back of the room. As the priest gives a eulogy for the bereaved family, a slideshow shows a photo of Luke's family. The next image shows the photo of 4 teenagers, and it reminds Aaron of the day when he and Luke were teenagers playing in the river with his girlfriend, Ellie, and Gretchen, who was Luke's girlfriend at the time. After the funeral ends, Aaron meets with older Gretchen, who asks if Luke said anything to him before he died. He replies that he should have called him, but he never had the chance. Back at the church, both of Luke's parents, Jerry and Barb, thank the guests for attending their son's funeral. Suddenly, a bearded man interrupts their speech, saying that Luke does not deserve to be mourned because he was the one who killed his family. Hearing this, Barb bursts into tears, and the people around ask Grant to be quiet. Soon, Aaron visits the now dry river in the small town, where he remembers another memory from his teenage years. In a flashback, it is revealed that the river's where Ellie's drowned body was found 20 years ago. Afterwards, he visits Luke's parents' home, where Barb insists that her son would never commit the murder, so she asks Aaron to stay and investigate the crime. In addition, she believes that Luke's farm might be experiencing financial difficulties due to the drought, and that he had to borrow some money. However, someone might kill his family after he could not pay it back. At first, Aaron refuses to take up the case and tries to refer them to another investigator, but he eventually agrees after Luke's parents keep asking him to investigate the case because he is an accomplished investigator and a friend of their son. As he walks back to the car, Jerry tells Aaron to look into Luke's farm finances, but Aaron says that he is not allowed to interfere with local investigations. Hearing this, Jerry finally states that he knows that he and his son were lying about what happened when Ellie died. The boys reason that they were shooting rabbits in the field, but Jerry spots his son running home from the other direction that day. Because of that, Jerry thinks that if Luke killed Ellie that day, then his son could have killed his family too. With a surprised expression, Aaron promises to take a look at the finances before leaving the house. He then remembers another memory when the teenagers were swimming in the river, and somehow Luke held Ellie's head under the water. Aaron could only see that from the riverbank, while Gretchen reprimanded Luke to stop his action. After that, Aaron looks for a room to spend the night. At the bar, he finds many locals are still angry towards him, particularly the rude man from the funeral, Grant, who turns out to be Ellie's brother, and Ellie's father, Mal, who both brand him a liar and a murderer. In their first encounter, Grant and Mal are furious because he dares to return to the town after what he did to Ellie. They also threaten him if he does not leave the town soon. Hence, Aaron quietly leaves and goes to his room, where he remembers another memory. After Luke jokingly drowned Ellie's head, Aaron took her away, leaving Luke and Gretchen in the river. The next morning, Aaron calls his boss to let him know that he cannot return to this office now and needs at least a day to investigate the case. He begins to look into the events surrounding the murder, starting at Luke's farm, where he meets the local sergeant, Greg, who will assist him in investigating the case. Aaron asks to see the investigative records, and the sergeant complies. They enter Luke's house and Aaron learns that the sergeant was the one who found the bodies. Greg points to the front door, where he found Karen's body there, and feels a little odd about it. He then shows the rooms where he found the eldest son's body and a crying infant in it. Afterwards, Aaron visits the local school where Karen used to work as a bookkeeper. He interviews Scott, the local school principal and Karen's boss, who explains that although she and Luke had some money issues, they did not appear to have any serious problems. At one point, his mind drifts back to the time when Ellie showed him her hiding place in a rocky area, where they spent some romantic time together. After that, Aaron goes to the police station to meet Greg, who informs that the bullets used in the crime were Remingtons, whereas Luke only owned Winchesters. They then head to the location where Luke killed himself. Greg informs him that Luke was shooting rabbits together with his neighbor, Jamie, the day he died. As a result, Aaron rushes to Jamie's house to interrogate him, but he still finds no clue about Luke's death. That night, he meets Gretchen for dinner and asks if Luke had ever been violent with her when they were together, to which she replies no. Furthermore, she also believes that Ellie killed herself because she had family issues. However, the locals found her body along with a letter with Aaron's name on it, so he was somehow suspected of being Ellie's murderer. The following day, Aaron visits Luke's parents' house again and finds Barb crying while cleaning out her son's room. He then tells her that there is nothing wrong with Luke's farm finances, so it has nothing to do with the motive behind the murders. He also voluntarily wants to return Karen's overdue library book which Barb had found earlier. Afterwards, Aaron goes back to the rocky area that Ellie showed him before. He reminisces about the night when the four of them camped in the forest. That night, Luke pretended he was injured, and Ellie was sick of his nastiness. Back to the present when Aaron is about to return the library book, he finds a news article about one of his cases tucked in the middle of the book. Moreover, he also discovers Grant's name handwritten on the back of a library book receipt, which was dated a week before Karen died. His suspicion of Grant grows, and he decides to interrogate him. Aaron suspects Grant wants to purchase Luke's family farm since Luke's parents cannot manage it on their own. However, Grant keeps denying any involvement in the murders. After interrogating Grant, Aaron's mind suddenly flashes back to the day when Luke tried to apologize to Ellie for what he had done the night before, but she still did not want to talk with him. She then met Aaron and kissed him in a classroom, before he gave Eli the letter to meet him at the river. Later, Aaron discovers that someone put a dead calf on the roof of his car, and put up many posters calling him a killer. Enraged, he intends to find the person, but instead runs into Scott who invites him over to his house, so he can wash his car. He then meets the principal's wife, who is emotional about the deaths of Karen and Billy. After that, the principal informs him that they used to live in Melbourne, but one night they were robbed, causing his wife to become emotionally unstable. Apart from that, they also lost a lot of money, so Scott decided to take the job in the local school. Another flashback reveals that the authorities finally found the letter that Aaron gave to Ellie. Therefore, Luke came up with the alibi to protect him, that they were shooting rabbits together on the other side of the town. After Ellie's death, the locals started to insult Aaron's family, thus his father decided to leave the town, which is why Aaron has not returned to his hometown for 2 decades. Soon, Aaron visits Gretchen, who tells him that there were applications found in Karen's desk for school funding. At night, Gretchen pulls out an old album, and they reminisce about their teenage years. However, Aaron later sees a photo of Luke holding Gretchen's newborn son. He then questions her about Luke being the father, but Gretchen denies this, while indirectly confirming they were having an affair. Aaron outrightly asks her if she is responsible for the murders, but she tells him to leave instead. When he arrives at the bar, Aaron runs into the principal's wife, who is worried because Scott told her that he was going to stop by the hotel for a drink, but he's late now. After a while, the principal interrupts them out of nowhere, and leaves the bar with his wife. Aaron then asks the bartender if Scott is here every night, to which he says yes. Not only that, he also learns that the principal also likes to gamble. The following morning, Aaron goes back to Gretchen's house and steals some of Karen's funding applications. He carefully reads them in his car, and sees that one application for $70,000 grant was flagged by Karen as suspicious. At that moment, he finally realizes that the word Karen had written earlier had nothing to do with Grant, but rather the suspicious Grant. He suddenly remembers the principal's financial problems and concludes that Scott has embezzled school funds to pay for his gambling addiction. When Karen was still working as the school's bookkeeper, she must have discovered the principal's wrongdoing and shared her suspicions with her husband. Therefore, Luke must have told her about his childhood friend, Aaron, who has worked on embezzlement cases before. This explains why the newspaper article about him was tucked inside Karen's book. With Greg's help, he drives to the school to question the principal while contacting the foundation that organized the grant, confirming that the $70,000 was actually awarded to the school. Long story short, the two arrive at the school, only to find that the principal has fled into the dry forest with a jerrycan of gasoline and a lighter. As they chase after him, Scott finally admits to his gambling addiction, stealing money from the school to pay his debts, and murdering Luke's family to cover up his fraud. Since he cannot escape anymore, Scott drenches himself in gasoline and sets himself on fire. Seeing this, Aaron and Greg immediately tackle him to the ground to put out the fire, trying to save his life as well as the dry forest. Because of this, Greg is badly burnt and hospitalized, although Aaron's injuries are not as severe. Meanwhile, Scott is unrecognizable, but he is still alive and has been taken to another facility in Melbourne. The investigation is finally closed with Scott's confession, and Luke's parents thank Aaron for proving their son's innocence. Before leaving his hometown, Aaron meets with Gretchen and apologizes for accusing her, and she forgives him. She also reveals that she had always been in love with Luke, but he ended up choosing Karen. Afterwards, Aaron visits the rocky area for the second time to leave some flowers for Ellie among the rocks. Unexpectedly, he also finds her old backpack, which contains her clothes and a journal noting that she intended to run away because Mal was abusing her. The final flashback reveals that Ellie was planning to leave and went to the river to say goodbye to Aaron. However, her father found out that she was leaving, so he decided to drown her in anger. Aaron eventually takes the backpack with him and walks back into the town along the riverbed, which is now completely dry. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.